evening, everybody. Thank you for attending our City Council meeting this Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. We will start with a roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Penrose.
Here.
Councilmember Nagengast.
Here.
Vice Mayor Reddick.
Here.
Mayor Brownstone.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody, please. Thank you. Okay. I move that we approval of the agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passed. We were going to start with proclamations and presentations this evening. And we're going to start with a presentation regarding immigration rights advocacy. And Karen will introduce our presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Brownstone, Council and Community. I'm Karen Decker, Economic and Community Vitality Manager. Also in the Economic and Community Vitality Division is Julissa Acosta and Irma Acosta, my colleagues. The city and certainly our division work very closely with our local nonprofits. I think that's never been truer than the last few years. They are valued partners that provide critical safety net services to coastsiders who need it the most. And together we leverage resources and we acknowledge the unique role that we each play. The city relies on their expertise and rapport to share really important city and community information to populations that are often the hardest to reach. And among the three organizations that you're going to hear from this evening, just among these three, they serve 5,900 individuals a year, so their reach is quite extensive. Sometimes we collaborate around planned work, like letters of support or grant opportunities or project outreach, but many times we collaborate around situations that require community mobilization. The closure of Bay City Flowers, the onset of the pandemic, the CZU fires later that year, our severe winter weather storms, of course, the shooting, and many other examples. So all that to say that our staff know their staff know our staff, we have each other's cell phones, and it's easy for us to activate around community issues that arise in an oftentimes really dynamic situation. One of the working teams that made up the Coastside Recovery Initiative, Team Thrive, focused on how to support our existing small businesses and nonprofits who were facing incredible pivots during and coming out of the pandemic. And one of the 15 recommendations from that economic plan is to, quote, increase and strengthen capacity of coastside safety net providers to connect vulnerable residents to rental, financial, and other public benefits assistance. So there's precedent and community-based data-backed recommendations that acknowledge the critical safety net that our local nonprofits provide. This evening, you'll be receiving an update from three of our local nonprofits, Coastside Hope, Alas, and Puente. I believe Rita from Puente got stuck in the floods, and so she's going to be participating via Zoom. You're going to hear some of their clients' concerns and experiences and how they're manifesting in the community through the point of view of these three executives, specifically around immigrants' rights and fears of deportation. As brief background, the last time these fears elevated to this level was toward calendar year 2016. And in December of that year, Half Moon Bay City Council endorsed a letter of solidarity with the community after receiving an informal update on the impacts of the 2016 federal election. At the state level, the Senate passed SB 54, the California Values Act. And that, quote, ensures that no state and local resources are used to assist federal immigration enforcement and that our schools, our hospitals, and our courthouses are safe spaces for everyone in our community. At our local San Mateo County level, the Board of Supervisors passed an ordinance in 2023 to restrict the use of county funds for coordination with ICE. The Sheriff's Office also does not collaborate or coordinate with ICE. And Captain Chichoff is here and on hand this evening should questions arise after the presentation. And finally, at its last board meeting of the Board of Supervisors just on January 28th, the board reaffirmed its commitment to protecting and empowering vulnerable communities and referenced the quote, challenges posed by discriminatory rhetoric and policies at the national level. That concludes my background information on this item, and now I'd like to turn the mic over to Judith Guerrero. Oh yes, Mayor Brownstone.
Thank you, Karen. I just want to add one more thing. Not everyone knows, because some folks have asked, should Half Moon Bay become a sanctuary city? Well, actually, the entire county of San Mateo is a sanctuary county. And so we are covered by all the protections. And in fact, San Mateo County has more comprehensive protections than San Francisco or San Jose or Santa Clara. So that is why we are not going to declare the city a sanctuary city, because we don't need to. We're already covered by the county. So just wanted to put that out there because not a lot of people realize that. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to Executive Director of Coastside Hope, Judith Guerrero.
Good evening, Mayor Brownstone, Council, City staff, and community members. My name is Judith Guerrero, and I stand here before you today not only as the Executive Director of Coastside Hope, a provider of essential safety net services, but also as a longtime immigrant resident of this community. Puente, Alas, and Coastside Hope are organizations committed to advancing social equity by addressing critical issues such as food insecurity, housing instability, and providing legal advocacy for the vulnerable Coastside residents. Since the November election, we have come together as a coalition to respond more effectively to the harmful anti-immigrant policies put forth by the new administration. Through our collective efforts, we've hosted Know Your Rights sessions for immigrants and their allies, and expanded our network by collaborating with Faith in Action and Silicon Valley Debug to better prepare and amplify the impact of our advocacy. Half Moon Bay has long stood as a beacon of inclusivity, compassion, and kindness for immigrant communities from all corners of the world. Mexico, China, South and Central America, the Philippines, and many other countries across Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. The city has always embraced its diverse population and celebrated the invaluable contributions of immigrants. Today, I ask you to stand with us and with the immigrant community in this city. I urge you to continue upholding and protecting the rights of immigrants in Half Moon Bay and to take immediate, meaningful steps to ease the fears of our community members. We must ensure their safety, dignity, and inclusion. Our community is stronger and more vibrant because of our immigrant population. Immigrants are the hands that put food on your table, the teachers in our schools, the doctors in our clinics, the essential workers who kept us going through COVID, the leaders in nonprofits, and the council members like Council Member Bo Johnson who helped guide this community. Thank you. Tonight, you will hear also from my colleague, Quique Bazan, who leads the Community Partnership for Alas, and Rita Mancera, the Executive Director of Puente de la Costa Sur. As they share their concerns and feedback we are hearing from our respective communities. Together, we hope to partner with you to continue the proud legacy of Half Moon Bay as a welcoming and inclusive city. Thank you for your ongoing dedication and partnership in supporting the rights and dignity of the most vulnerable members in our community.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Quique Bazan from Alas. As you can imagine, fear is a big component of this equation of what we're going through. And not only the fear that comes from the federal government, but also how is that enabling other people to act with that fear. And we are seeing, for example, just one concrete example, the hotline where people can call in case of ICE coming to arrest somebody. One day they had 150 calls. Most of them were rumors. And the rumors is usually based on fear, anything that happens. But also there were calls, hate calls, on saying, you need to go home, Trump is coming for you, pack your bags. So that's what is, one is the fear of the community, but also the message that is going out, how is that enabling people to act in certain ways against others. Part of the process when there are these rumors is the verification. This line is in San Mateo County, but every time there is a rumor here in Half Moon Bay, we are called to verify if it's a true message or not, if it's a true case of somebody being arrested or not. And so we go and we identify the people that have made the complaint or call the line, and just to follow every step, and then we have to call back all the people that are calling also to not spread rumors quickly, which we can control everything. With all this, we're thinking, what are we going to do? The question is, what are we going to do when there is a real arrest? And that's the key. Because usually the person that is arrested is the breadwinner of the family. And then how are they going to pay rent? How are they going to feed their children? What's going to happen? What is going to be the mental health of the children that are seeing their father or their mother for last time in we don't know how long? So that accompaniment during the process, we're also trying to prepare for that. The mobilization of resources, the capacity building, and how do we tell the story? How do we tell the story of what's going on to our community because somebody has been extracted from a community? And the awareness, education, and advocacy that we all have to do. So with all this uncertainty, how we are going to respond of what is happening, one person told this story. It's like a migrant. A couple of things. First, I feel that I have a puzzle in front of me that doesn't have any picture, and everything is broken apart, and I have to put it together. But I don't know what it goes together, because everything is broken in different pieces, and it doesn't make sense. How do we make sense of what we're living right now? That's one. That uncertainty, anxiety, and fear, that's what it makes people look like reality right now. That everything is broken, nothing makes sense. On the other hand, we also ask the question, what gives you strength? And what people are saying is that what gives them strength is being family. Waking up in the mornings, taking their kids to school, having lunch or dinner, hanging out during the weekends because they don't know if that's going to be the last day that they are going to be together. And now, Rita is going to speak through Zoom.
Thank you, Kiki.
Rita, you should be able to speak now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I wish I was there with you, but you know how the weather was today. So my name is Rita Mancera, and I'm the Executive Director of Puente de la Costa Sur, and we are a nonprofit organization that promotes equitable access to health, education, and economic security. We serve those who live or work in Pescadero, La Honda, Loma Mare, and San Gregorio, and this is why we serve some of the residents that live in the Half Moon Bay area. Thank you for listening tonight, and we are really glad to be partnering with ALAS and with Cosa I Hope to support the community during these times. You are probably aware about the false claims that ICE has been in Half Moon Bay. These rumors spread really fast, and so far none of these claims has been confirmed. ALAS, Cosa I Hope, and Puente are coordinating efforts to find out as quickly as possible the accuracy of such communications, and we believe that the city of Half Moon Bay, with the reach you have to a lot of community members, businesses, and organizations, could also support these efforts to provide clear and factual information through your own communication tools. We can address these information right away, families will know they can go on with their regular activities of work, school, attend medical appointments, etc. If you designate a person to collaborate closely with the three of us, you will help constituents that live, work, and play in the city of Half Moon Bay feel informed and therefore safe in an environment where right now, honestly, it's really hard to know who to trust. I also just want to remind us that we have already worked together, we have experienced hardships, and we have come together as a community. So we know how to do this, and we do it in partnership with community. And finally, I just think that you know what we know, that immigrants in the city of Half Moon Bay and on the coast side contribute to having a thriving community. I think the community knows, and that's what they're rallying around to support the immigrant community, but you know that too. And so I'm looking forward to continue working with these two organizations and with staff from the city of Half Moon Bay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Next, we're going to move on to
To the mayor.
mayor's announcements. Oops.
Can I make a comment on what was said? Is that okay? Briefly? I just want to say that Matthew pointed out a video that I watched yesterday that was Ray Mueller, and it was Norlila Corzo, which was in support of the vulnerable communities. And a lot of people spoke on that, and I thought it was great, and I think I would recommend it. It's has to do with what's going on with all this, things going on with the immigrations and all this, and it also had to do with LGBTQ+, and there was a lot of things that they were talking about. I'd highly recommend to watch that video because they're all in support, and I thought it was a great video, and I want to say thank you, Matthew.
How would people access that video?
The link it's through the county website.
Sorry, right, you sent that.
But we could certainly, at some point, share it through our media, a link to that so that people know where to access it.
I know I'm delaying, but there was some key points that I thought was very, very good that we should do as a city. And Matthew, you can look into it more, but I took some quick notes. It was prepare, response, and planning. And under prepare, we had legal advice, and under response, promote calm, no fear, remain silent, red card. And then under planning, red card and plan in place. And then when I talked to my neighbor, Jose, who used to be a principal here, I ran into him this morning, and he said they have a plan in place at the school. So we need to communicate all these plans in place and have a plan in place for medical, for school, for work, and for home. So I think we need to work on that.
I agree, and I'm aware of a lot of those plans going on, so we'll coordinate. Deborah, thanks.
Yeah, I just want to say, I want to say a couple of things. One is that I do think that it might be wise of us, kind of us, loving of us as a council to take another look at declaring ourselves a sanctuary city, not because the county is not doing a really good job promising sanctuary, but because our community needs to feel that the rest of the city staff and the city council are with them. That's number one. Number two, I think it's incumbent upon the immigrant community to come to the city, whether it's council or staff, and ask us for what it is you think would be helpful. I don't know how to help you. I have one thought only, and that's just a small thought, but I really don't know what it is that you want. One of the things that I've been thinking about is that I think if ICE does come into our neighborhood, that people are going to be running wild and they're going to need someplace to go. And that might be something that the immigrant community, along with our nonprofits and our city, could work out in terms of getting a list of places that are safe outside of the library and the schools, which we know are safe. The other thought I had was, with these rumors that are going around all the time, if there was some point during the day that the city could put out a bulletin saying, we've looked at the validity of these rumors and we found that they are A, not true, B, true. And I think that that's something that we could do fairly easily. So those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Deborah. And I think the representatives that we had speak to us tonight, Coastside Hope, Allison Puente, could probably be a good start if we want to find out what the community would like, because they are in touch with the community members and could let us know. In terms of rumors, there's actually a pretty solid process for validating that people know to call if there's an ICE rumor, et cetera, that it's in play already, so in the community.
I'm talking about a public announcement from the city saying, this is a rumor, it has no validity. Might do something.
I think we'd have to talk about that a little more, because if there's dual validation processes, sometimes that can get a little bit confusing as well. So we'd have to talk about that more, but another time.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of coming down on a decision tonight. It's not agendized for that. I do think a coordinating role is worthwhile for the city. But, you know, what I want to know is, first of all, I'd like to know what the school's plan is, because schools and churches are no longer safe spaces. So what is the school doing? What's the church doing? What are employers doing? What are the farmers doing? What are the small business owners doing, the restaurants doing, who employ these people? And it seems to me they have a responsibility as well. I mean, if they're losing their workers, it seems to me that's of interest to them, and also, you know, it's part of our economy. So I want to know what they're doing, if anything, and if not, why not? So, but I think it's too complicated to come down on any particular decision tonight. I understand the fear. I just think we need to make a careful decision. And in the meantime, we do have Karen Decker here who communicates. We can convene the cohort, the nonprofit cohort. That's a good forum for finding out what everybody's doing and ways for you to build a network of communication around that. So I think that's a good start. It's one of the reasons that we did that, was to bring you all together and to communicate and to be able to communicate back to the city about what everybody's doing. So.
Thank you for making that point. And actually, Jaleesa's convening that cohort tomorrow, and this item is agendized.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's all I got right now.
And Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to share, I do think it is important that we acknowledge what we've heard tonight, and that the city is, we stand with our community, especially vulnerable members of our community, and do try to play that facilitator role and support where we can. To Karen's point, we are facilitating the cohort of nonprofits tomorrow that through the CSFA program. The school district is actually facilitating a larger meeting later this week. And I think we've heard some great feedback tonight that as those plans come together, what are some of those holes, businesses, other places that need to be engaged? And I think, again, to Debbie's point, we can facilitate making sure that we've kind of covered all the bases. But as we know, our community partners really have that expertise, and we need to rely on them to help speak for the community and let us know what they need and where we can help. So we're really grateful for our partners. We've been working together a very long time. There's a lot of trust and support, and that will continue in support of the community. Captain Chichov is here tonight specifically to show that the Sheriff's Office stands in solidarity with the nonprofits in our community as well, and we're in this together. So
I'd like to hear the captain come up to the podium and say that at our meeting for people.
Good evening, Council. Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Yes, I can't take a political stance, but I can tell you that we do not cooperate with any immigration agency. And I use that term very carefully because it's inclusive, any immigration agency. They are not allowed in our jails. We do not release any information to them. To us, they are nothing more than other citizens. They can walk up to the front as any citizen would, but if they ask to come in, they are not allowed in. Is that plain enough? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Not at all. And as John F. Kennedy famously wrote, we are a nation of immigrants, and I think it's important to our values that we recognize that and we act on that.
And, I think Sam Licardo met with folks, I think over the weekend or late last week, to reassure them. And I think he had a good message that was reported in the newspaper, which was, continue with your business. Go to work, go to school, go to church, meet with each other. Don't let the bastards grind you down, in other words, right? As soon as they smell that fear, they'll be all over us. So it's really important to trust. You have trusted organizations working for you in this community. The city has taken a stand in solidarity. Previously, that hasn't changed. But it's important to, try to live your life as best you can, and then all of us stay on the same page about what's going on and being able to reassure each other and the community.
I talked to Ray Mueller last night, or texted. He went down to the housing development that we have down south of town, and he had an actual meeting, and he said it went well. So I thought that was, I was just praising him on what I saw, and then he said, well, I just got back from a meeting. So he's out there doing it, hitting the streets. So I got to give him a lot of praise.
And again, there's a network of immigration attorneys and organizations that the community has been consulting with very consistent advice to people and what to do if someone knocks on your door. That's why they have red cards, so people know what to say and do. And what helps with fear is knowing what to do in a situation and what people do have control over. And you mentioned earlier about private property, whether it's in a farm, a school, or employer. It's an important issue. What's the difference between public and private property? And, the advice is to clearly put up signs which parts of places are private, so there's no question when people try and come on a premise, and whether it's an office, a school, or a farm. So anyway, there's a lot of good information out there, and it's going to become more and more available to folks, I think, in the coming weeks. So that's what's going on. Thank you for coming forward. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have no announcements of community activities. Any report out from recent closed sessions?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Community. The Council has not met in closed session since our last meeting. However, I did want to note the Council will be meeting in closed session right after tonight's meeting. We were expecting a fairly short-ish meeting, and so that's the reason that the closed session is scheduled after this one. And just to note that there are 2 items on tonight's closed session. Both involving real estate negotiations, and I do not anticipate any reportable action from either one, since both of those would require a culmination of if there is to be a real estate transaction, that would come back on the regular agenda for both of those items. Thank you.
Thank you. Updates, city managers' updates to council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 2 items tonight, and both will be presented by our Assistant City Manager, John Dowdy.
Thank you, Council and Community. One thing, rec program, I wanted to just give a shout out for a program that we're trying out this coming winter and spring called Debate to Educate, available to 10 to 15-year-olds. Dealing with debate techniques, World School, Public Forum, and it ends with a Model UN. So great experience, 4-month program, meet weekly, and it starts February 24th. We've honestly had a pretty slow run-up signups, so I'm trying to get the word out through various forums, and hopefully this will kick that into gear. And just a reminder that we do have the Raleigh Wright Foundation, basically scholarship that we can provide assistance to those needing that. So cost of this should not be a factor for folks. The second piece is just to give an update and a hope that also many of those same parents of youth, that we have 2 seats left still vacant and available on the Parks and Recreation Commission. And in October, if you recall, the council approved expanding the Parks and Rec Commission to 7 members, 2 of those being basically high school age folks. And we did not bring forth anyone to the council for commission appointments because we had not received applications. I believe we have at least 1 application in. We are hoping to bring an appointment of 2 seats by the March 4th meeting is what we're hoping, so they would be available for the March commission meeting, and we can meet with them, train them up a little bit, and have them ready to go. So just encourage those kids and those parents to push their kids a bit toward that. Thank you.
Thanks for the updates, John. I'm now going to move on to public forum. And just to remind folks how public forum works, it's to address anything that's on your mind, but that's not on the agenda, okay? So any item that's not agendized, you can talk about. Each person will get 3 minutes to speak. And we set a timer. And the timer, when you hear 2 beeps, that means you have 30 seconds left.
When the beep goes off, your time is up, but when the light turns yellow is when.
Right, but can't we do a 30-second 2 beeper thing?
I can make it beep at 30 seconds, yes.
Yeah, okay, that would be great, because sometimes people register with the beeps. And then after the time is fully up, there'll be 1 more beep, okay? Great, thank you. Let's see, first person up is Joaquin Jimenez on the topic of Measure A.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. Before I go into my topic, I would like to address that United States, we are 68 million immigrants. We contribute trillions of dollars to the economy. So just to have an idea about what's going on right now, so how much we contribute. From here, I move on to talking about Measure A. Measure A, I'm not willing to give my power to the county supervisors to remove Christina Corpus from her position. Sheriff Christina Corpus, she was elected by the people, not appointed by the supervisors. The supervisors are willing to spend $5.5 million to remove Christina Corpus from her position, something I'm not willing to give my power a vote to do that. Sheriff Christina Corpus has done more for the coast side than any other previous sheriff, more than Carlos Bolaños, Greg Monks. She has been present with us. 4th of July parades, Pride parades, pumpkin festivals, other festivals here in the community. She's been here for us. If you remember, last fall, there was an article that came out of how the crime had actually reduced under her supervision. If you remember, under Greg Monks, we had a young lady killed in Half Moon Bay. Under Carlos Bolaños, we had another lady killed here in Half Moon Bay by our sheriff's department. On top of that, if you think about money, there's a lawsuit going against the county for $10 million. So if you get the $5.5 million for this special election, plus the $10 million the county's about to lose, that's $15.5 million. That's a lot of money. That's half of the building. It's going to be right here on 555 Kelly. So do you want to give your power to the county supervisors to remove a sheriff that actually has made a change in our community? Not me. She was voted by the people, not by the county supervisors. And I'm standing by her. She has really changed our community. She's here for the immigrants. Besides that, she is the first Latina in the history of San Mateo County to be elected to that position. A woman Latina, a woman of color. Think about that. She made history. San Mateo County made history when she was elected by the people, not appointed by the county supervisors. So I'm gonna hold on to my power. Thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin. Sure. Our next speaker is Brad Johnson.
Good evening, greetings, salutations, however you want to say it. I got a couple of my own agendas. However, as far as the people that are here that are undocumented or whatever, I think it's really important to remember that being in the country undocumented is a misdemeanor. So any law enforcement may not enter a car, business, whatever, without a warrant. So when they say they're going to stand up, well, let's stand up, okay? Because it's a misdemeanor. You can't just be doing stuff without search warrants. As an aside, I believe the largest undocumented population in California is the Irish, which I come from. And then, as your statement with the being a sanctuary city because the San Mateo County has said so, I mean, I'd like to see that in writing. Whose legal opinion is that? Because I don't think you can just say, well, we're going to go under their blanket thing. You know, you need to have an opinion. Anyway, I believe the county or the board here knows my personal things that are going on. I believe when the city manager sends me an email that he has information for me but then won't provide it on an email, I believe that's malfeasance. I think that everyone should understand that their actions are easily reportable to the top 10 headhunters in this country, the talent recruitment, and this is all on the record when you say things and then you don't actually do those things. As an aside, as far as law enforcement is concerned, with the Alas people, there was an incident last year where somebody was harassing the people at Alas, and the police came down there and they were going to make a plan to do something where I actually had to get involved. You can ask Magdalene, and you know, when you don't report a crime as the county or as the sheriff, well, that lowers your statistics. Sorry to be kind of disjointed, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Our next speaker is Hal Bogart.
Good evening, council members. Before I say anything else, I just want to express solidarity with our vulnerable community members. You know, we've seen going back to World War II, you know, people grabbed and taken off to internment camps and such. It's not something that people here that any of us should allow. So I wanted to speak to you tonight to discuss Poplar Street project between Main and the highway, which we had a visit last week from a deputy city engineer, Dale Lita, who walked the street with me and spoke with several residents about some remaining issues. One I'll mention briefly is that where the curbs have been poured, between the curbs and the walkways, there's a serious drop-off. Somebody gets out of a car, trips over the curb, falls some distance. Several people mentioned, in addition to myself, everybody who also spoke with the city deputy engineer as he walked the street with me, raised this issue of wishing that those planting areas were brought up to grade level so that tripping and injuring is less likely for elderly people, children running along, and so on. Specifically, I wanted to ask the council to take a close look at the parking restriction that was recently added near Main Street on the south side of the street for about 110, 120 feet. Basically, 5 parking spots were taken away that had been in use for weeks, maybe longer than weeks. And I asked the fire department about the requirements, and they said that the street in that part is 1 foot not wide enough to allow parking under the state fire code on both sides. So I would ask that a close look be taken at restricting the parking on the north side of the street, which consists, where the curb consists of 2 parking spots, not 5, and the rest of the stretch are driveways. And I provide to council members, as part of this comment, a diagram showing this. And my observations, I had reached out to Councilmember Penrose, who cheerfully passed along a question to staff, and I provide a copy of the question that I asked and the staff response, and I just would propose that the parking restriction be changed to the other side. I know that you have a memorialization of some of the red curbs that have been added in the city of late, and I would ask that you postpone deciding on that and have this looked into and get some more details. Thank you.
Thank you, Hal. Sorry. Next speaker is Sid Young.
I put down that I wanted to talk about one of the agenda items that it looks like it's going to be pulled for tonight and postponed until March 4th. So I just had some quick questions about it since there were no attachments or staff report. And that is the sale of a portion of the property of 880 Stone Pine to the county. And that's where you want to put 47 mobile home units for low-income or farm worker housing, I believe. Is that correct? So my question was, when you do go ahead on March 4th, will there be some kind of backup information about whether or not the units that are going to be for sale, if they're going to have the same exemption that county will have for property taxes, or will they have to pay property taxes like a normal person who buys property? Otherwise, the school districts will get gypped, like when you guys transferred to the county the hotel, and then the sewer thing didn't get transferred right away, and the school bonds weren't paid anymore to the school district. So I just wondered if that's going to become, county land. They're not going to be part of SAM either, so how are you going to provide sewer services? And they're not in Half Moon Bay. So that's kind of confusing to me. So I didn't see an attachment in the book that I borrowed off the table there, and I was hoping maybe by the next time you have it up on your agenda, all that'll be worked out. Also just, how are you going to handle giving the sewer connections out when they're not in Half Moon Bay property anymore? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sid. Our next speaker is Carolina Carvajal.
I think that one's for item 2A. Sorry. That one's for item 2A for Carolina. It's, no, not you, not yet. There's still online speakers for public forum. Carolina's comment card is for item 2A.
2A is an agendized item, so
Yes.
it wouldn't be taken right now. Yeah.
Sorry, Carolina, the thing you wanted to speak about is actually on the agenda. And so when we talk about that, you'll be able to comment later. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Carolina. Okay, we have 3 online speakers.
Okay, first, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Shuchi, and I am a resident of San Mateo County. And as a resident, I'm a concerned resident. I'm looking at the deaths at Colwell Ranch Beach. We've lost 4 people since 2018. And what really hits home is that 2 of these happened around MLK weekend, including the recent tragedy where we lost the little 8-year-old boy and his dad this January. The beach looks calm, but those sneaker waves and rip currents are deadly. So I'm here to represent this entire community and ask you guys, the mayor and the city council of Half Moon Bay, what is the city's plan to keep families safe, especially during the dangerous conditions? Why cannot city shut this beach specifically on the day when, the rip currents are high and, there is high probability of sneaker waves showing up? Could we maybe look at closing the beach during those worst days? That's my ask here. What's the plan? Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I will just mention that Cal Beach is a state beach, and doesn't mean we can't make requests, but that's run by the state. I'll speak a little louder. I just wanted to mention that Cal Beach is a state beach, and doesn't mean we can't make asks of them, but they control that particular beach, and we don't. Thanks. Next speaker is Dan Haggerty.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good evening. Dan Haggerty, El Granada. I wanted to respectfully object to the beeping of notice at 30 seconds before the end of community members' time to speak. Community members come in, they take their own personal time, they go out of their way, they come to participate, and this beeping that was suggested is essentially an interruption, and I just don't feel that's appropriate. And it sounds like the red curb and the no parking signs has been postponed, so I will take a moment to just make some comments on that. Excuse me. The people that live here and come here, adore the small town feel. And these items that we're talking about is just a movement towards urbanization, and it's taking away from that quaint small town feel. So, the city is supposed to be a friend of the people that live here, and not. I got a hunch that some of these suggestions are coming from outsiders. So we shouldn't have people from the outside coming in and beating us up in a sense of taking away our little by little our small town feel. So please don't paint the curbs and don't put in unnecessary signs. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Our next speaker is Norm Picker.
Good evening.
Norm, you have a really bad connection. We're having a hard time hearing you.
Norm, you want to hang up and then try again and call in, and we'll get you back on there? Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Anandita Sharma.
Hi.
We can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anandita Sharma. I'm with Arune Foundation. We are dedicated to beach safety and drowning prevention. I wish I were here under different circumstances, but last month another tragedy struck Half Moon Bay's Cobble Beach Ranch. A father and his 8-year-old son drowned at Cobble Beach. It brought painful memories of our 12-year-old Arune, who was swept away by a sneaker wave in 2021. We remember how the Half Moon Bay community came together during Arune's search and rescue. We all took the grief of losing Arune and turned it into action, creating the Arune Foundation. In the last 3 years, we've installed 25 life-saving ring buoys along the coast from Half Moon Bay to south of San Francisco. These life-saving rings have been critical tools and have already saved lives. And we know they're needed. Every year, there are numerous rescue operations along our coastline, including here in Half Moon Bay. Some end in success, but too many don't. These tragedies are a painful reminder that our work is not done. We're here to ask the city to help us get approvals and a plan to install life safety rings, stations at beaches across Half Moon Bay, and push for better signage or even temporary closures on high surf days. If there's anything that the city can do help expedite permits with California Coastal Commission, that would tremendously help us a lot. We are willing to fund and donate any number of ring stations that the city is interested in installing. Just tell us what you need from us. We'll be back on the 18th with the full presentation for the council and community, and we hope to move forward together. In the meantime, please visit arunefoundation.org to learn more about us and share your inputs. Thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you, Anandita. Okay. Norm, thanks for calling back. Let's see if we can get a better connection this time.
Okay, how is it now?
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. I live on Myrtle Street in Half Moon Bay. A couple of things I just wanted to mention. I'm concerned about the homeless camping. I'm sure all of you are too. I don't know the answer, but I just wanted to bring it up and appreciate you and staff and Captain Chichov and his staff and everybody else who would be involved and to continue to work and see what we can do to improve that situation at the creek. It's getting to be a real eyesore there next to the big field. And for years, there's been a strange situation going on under the highway. And I don't know where else, but it's just concerning. So I think there's, safety issues, health issues, et cetera. And I know it's not a unique problem to Half Moon Bay, but maybe we can lead in some way and find solutions that would even be a model for other communities. So I'm just throwing that out there. Second thing I wanted to talk about was the downtown streetscape. I think I read that whole plan. I hadn't read it until like a few months ago, and I know you guys worked really hard on that and had consultants, but I don't like most of it. I think it has the potential to destroy the quaint nature of downtown. I think the trees we have now are fine, and the diagonal parking is good, and I like that I can park on Main Street and jump in and run a quick errand and jump out. And then related to it, I do like the idea of the arch entrance you're working on for the north end. And I just wanted to make a comment about the south end. I feel like the signage there is really strange, and I think it should be improved where it's very clear on both monuments that Main Street shops and restaurants are this direction with an arrow. Currently, if you go look at the monuments, it's just not clear what's going on there. The one that says historic downtown, behind it is a big field and a view of like the Johnson House or that direction. So it's just not, I don't think it's meeting its objectives. So just to comment on that, maybe with some of the changes that you're working on for the arch on the north, we can add some changes to the southern gateway and how it reads. And I think I just wanted to comment that I'm happy that Captain Chichov is there. I think it's great that he or maybe one of his senior staff could attend council meetings to have a chance to be available. I don't know if that's always the case. I have seen him at quite a few meetings, which I'm happy. I think that's good to build community relations with him and with his staff. And lastly, I just had a general question. I emailed the city manager a couple times, and I know he has a lot on his plate. I don't always know who else to email, and I don't know the answer to that. Sometimes I can figure it out from the website, but maybe there'd be a way to say, if you have a question about this, email this person or that person. So, like, I had some questions about rental.
Thank you, Norm. Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your calling in tonight. Thank you. That's our last speaker, and that ends our public forum. Closed. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. Was anything being pulled tonight? Nope. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Yeah, I move that we approve the waiving of the reading of resolutions and ordinances, that we accept the treasurer's report for the quarter ending December 31, 2024, that we adopt a resolution amending resolution number C-05-11, citywide traffic regulations, to incorporate various lengths of red curb at the following locations: Court of San Marco, Kelly Avenue near Jenna Lane, Valdez Avenue near Alsace-Lorraine, Poplar Street near Main Street near Seymour Street, Main Street near Higgins Canyon Road, and portions of Wavecrest Road. I move that we adopt a resolution approving the Transportation Demand Management Plan, Get There Together, an action plan for transportation choices in Half Moon Bay and the Mid-Coast.
Is there a second?
I second.
Can we have a roll call?
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Penrose?
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ruddick?
Yes.
Mayor Brownstone?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinances and public hearings. This is actually a staff recommendation to continue this hearing to March 4th, so the matter could be heard at the regular city council meeting. And this is a resolution of public interest and convenience approving the city's sale of a portion of 880 Stone Pine Road for the construction of a 47-unit affordable farm worker housing project. Is there a second?
We have a public speaker on this item, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry about that. That was Carolina. Got it. Carolina, por favor, you are on. Thanks.
Muy buenas noches a todos
Good evening to everyone,
y gracias por su tiempo.
and thank you for your time.
Como ustedes saben, para nosotros es prioridad la vivienda en este momento.
As you know, priority is housing right now,
Y Stone Pine es algo que realmente nos urge a todos.
and Stone Pine is something that's really urgent for us right now.
Ustedes saben que vivimos hacinados, es algo que no desconocen.
So right now we live on assignment, and it's not really convenient.
Que nuestras rentas están extremadamente altas.
Rent is extremely high.
Necesitamos que este proyecto vaya avanzando
We need this project to be moving along
y que no se siga estancando
and not getting stuck
por personas
by people
que no aprueban esto porque es para personas de bajos ingresos.
that do not approve this only because it's not for people who are not for low income.
Quiero compartirles una cifra de cuántos impuestos
I would like to share with you a quote of how much in taxes
pagan los inmigrantes,
that the immigrants pay
que no se nos va a devolver.
that we do not get back.
Son 8.500 millones.
Is 8.5 million
de impuestos que pagamos.
dollars that we pay in taxes.
Si ustedes gustan, lo pueden buscar.
If you like, you can look for it yourself.
No es algo que inventamos.
We're not making this up.
Según los registros, eso es algo que pagamos el año pasado.
According to what's registered, this is what we pay.
Y todas esas personas que fueron deportadas,
And all of those people that were deported,
que pagaron impuestos,
that paid taxes,
sus impuestos quedarán aquí, ¿verdad?
these taxes, they remain here.
No nos lo podemos llevar.
We're not going to be able to take that with us.
Creo que podemos demostrar que sí somos una fuerza necesaria en este país.
I think we can demonstrate that we are a necessary force in this country.
Creo que Stone Pine sería una prueba de que sí aprueban nuestro trabajo duro por ustedes.
I think that it's a test that if you do approve for everything that we do for you,
Por favor, no dejemos estancar este proyecto.
please let's not let this project to be stuck.
No permitan que más personas se sigan oponiendo a buenos logros que podemos hacer en este pueblo.
Do not allow or continue allowing people to stand in opposition of this.
Este es tiempo de demostrar sus palabras,
This is the time to show your words
que las personas latinas sí son importantes.
that the Latin people are important.
También les quiero agregar algo acerca de la inmigración.
I also would like to add another thing on immigration.
Sé que ustedes tienen muy buenos ideales,
I know you have real good ideals,
pero déjenme decirles algo.
but let me tell you something.
Cuando las personas de ICE se acercan a nuestra población inmigrante,
When the people of ICE get close to our population, our immigrant population,
no crean que lo hacen de la forma más amigable.
don't think that they're doing it in a friendly manner.
Ellos no se acercan cumpliendo las normas que deben de hacer.
They're not really following the norms that they're supposed to.
Sé que tenemos derecho de guardar silencio,
I know we have the right to remain silent,
pero muchos de ellos no les importa eso.
but many of them do not care about that.
Ellos quieren cubrir cifras.
They want to fulfill their quota.
Recuerden que nuestro presidente dio la orden de detener 1.500 personas diarias.
Remember, the president had said that he wants to detain 1,500,000.
Así que ellos no se acercan de la forma más amigable a nosotros.
So they're not going to come up, they're not going to approach very friendly.
Ellos no respetan iglesias,
They do not respect churches.
no respetan escuelas.
They don't respect schools.
Ellos incluso han llevado a ciudadanos arrestados.
And they've even taken citizens in arrest. They've arrested citizens
Porque son latinos.
because they're also Latin.
Ellas no son personas que cumplen la ley al punto.
They are not ones who follow the letter of the law.
Y sé que muchos de ustedes se preguntan por qué no hay personas latinas, muchas aquí.
I know, you probably ask yourself, why isn't there that many Latin people here?
Todas las personas tienen miedo.
A lot of the people are are
Tienen
fearful
miedo de estar en grupo y que alguien llame y diga, están allí.
and afraid seeing that there's people in a group and then someone will call and say that they're there.
Y como dijo el Señor, estamos viviendo tiempos
And like the man said, we're living in times
cuando las personas judías eran perseguidas,
when the Jewish people were being persecuted,
solo que de una forma más moderna.
but in a more modernized form.
Somos personas que en este momento estamos siendo perseguidas
We are people that right now are being persecuted
por nuestra raza,
for our race,
religión
religion,
y cultura.
and culture.
Muchas gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we make the motion. We need a motion? Okay. I move that we continue the public hearing to a date certain of March 4th, 2025, or soon thereafter, so that the matter can be heard at the regular city council meeting held right here at the Ted Adcock Center. Second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to resolutions and staff reports. Our next topic is the appointment to the City of Half Moon Bay Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We have a staff recommendation to appoint James Carniglia to the vacant position as a representative to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried. That ends our ordinances and public hearings. Any commission or committee updates?
John Dowdy was going to provide an update on last week's meeting, but I'm not sure where he went. Oh, I hear him coming. We just needed to say his name out loud 3 times. John Dowdy, John Dowdy, John Dowdy. There he is.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Thank you. We had a meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission on January 28th. We had pushed it out a week, knowing that the council was looking at selecting commissioners, so that worked out well. Thank you for continuing our commission in good order. And I'm pleased to announce that Paulette Eisen is the new chair for 25, basically. And Hillary Stamper is the vice chair for the commission. So, and RJ is our departing chair, so we really appreciate it. And the commission extended their thank you to RJ. He was a fabulous chair and really brought professionalism and a unique take and thought process to a lot of the work. I know I learned a lot, and he challenged me a great deal, all in the right ways. And so that was our reorg for the year. We also affirmed, and we're going to have still a working ad hoc committee on the Summers End, and the Summers End committee is going to expand their role to also looking at sort of the lead into and opening and operational kind of challenges of Carter Park. So they've now kind of morphed with that a little bit. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that April 12th is the upcoming egg hunt that is co-sponsored by the city and recreation, and hopefully we'll have 2 or 3 of our commissioners present for that, or that, and also council members. It's a hoot, and our staff loves it, and the community loves it. It's a huge event for the community. On the regular agenda, we had a number of items. One of those focused on status kind of at the Summers End, and I'm not happy to report, but we understand that Mavericks Awards folks have decided to not proceed with partnering with the city. They just are not going to be working on doing a festival at all this year, and I don't know what they're going to be doing in the foreseeable future, but they will do their awards event and all that, but not the events and the festival that they had held at the harbor over a couple of years. That was disappointing, but I think our commission landed in a great place, and something that the city manager and staff had been talking about, which was with the opening of Carter Park. The feeling was mutual that we should focus the entirety of the event on Carter Park this year and make the best we can. Look at and talk to our friends at Mariners Church about potentially using some of their space and expanding, and also really developing a great relationship and outreach to the businesses and the residents in the area, but particularly the businesses in Stone Pine Shopping Center, and hope that they will partner with us both in the context of grand opening, which we'll be working on, as well as the summer's end, and hopefully they will take advantage of sort of a business opportunity, a community building opportunity, and so that's something that we feel and the commission feels very strongly about. We also had a chance to walk through some of the challenges for grant getting when it comes to state parks monies, and we talked about particularly the last major Proposition 68, and some of the challenges that come with the grant program administrative policies and focuses. And I think that was a great effort there, because there's always just the thought that we can get millions of dollars from those grant programs, and there is the possibility, but they are, in terms of the parks side, extremely competitive and very difficult, because there is a significant emphasis on disadvantaged communities, social equity issues and things, which are very difficult for this community to compete actively in and be successful. We are also compounded at this point without having a certified housing element as well in some of the grant programs, so that's also a concern. But really for the parks programs, it's primarily about our income levels being high, the number of parks, because they count every bit of park space, including the beaches and some of the open space areas owned by the land trust as being parkland in their modeling, so it makes it extremely difficult for that. So I think that was a great conversation. Still, we will continue to seek, but we will seek with the understanding that it is challenged. We also continued an extended conversation over the last 3 meetings about fundraising arm for Parks and Recreation. Notably, concerns about whether the Friends of Half Moon Bay Parks and Recreation are really aligned with the interest of what the commission and what we believe maybe the council's interests are. And I'll point one piece that seems to be the crux of part of this is the pool. The emphasis on the pool versus emphasis on just regular parks like Smithfield, Magnolia Park, the Johnston House, and Kehoe, and our other parks, and Oak Park. So we've been talking about it. We're still working our way through that, and there is not consensus, although I believe there is consensus on one issue, which is that we need to do a better job of partnering, collaborating, and developing relationships with the existing structure that's out there. Boys and Girls Club, for example, AYSO, Half Moon Bay Little League, all of the nonprofits out there, particularly that are aligned with our interest, and to see if we can leverage their connections, their grant-getting capacity, their ability to fundraise, and how do we basically, 1, learn from them, and 2, maybe connect with them and share some of those efforts with fundraising. Beyond that point, there is a piece of that which is, do we form another nonprofit separate from that? And that's been an issue of conversation several months now. And finally, in that conversation, we are also talking about potential for a 4th of July evening event. And this sort of started several months ago in a conversation about how do we approach and deal with the illegal fireworks. And there's a strong belief that if we had an evening fireworks show, that would reduce the amount of illegal fireworks going off and hopefully reduce the fire hazards and fire threat. There's kind of a mixed bag there. I think the bottom line for staff and I think the commission was, one, we don't have the time to really prepare and deal with this issue. The cost is going to escalate significantly with fire department requirements, and we don't even have a place that really is set for doing that. We were asked to take a look at and talk to the Harbor District about drone program, the drone shows and stuff, so we'll be doing that and seeing what we can address and deal with it. I know Cameron and some of his partners in the community have also desired to have some kind of 4th of July evening event to keep people focused and around. So I think it's a good, I don't really, my opinion doesn't count much, but I'll say I think it's a good thing to be looking at and focusing on and working on. But I think for 2025, it just is inadequate time to really get there and deal with that. So that was the content of our meeting.
Thanks for that very comprehensive report on
To
that
the
Park
chair,
and Rec
can I,
meeting.
to the mayor, if I can ask John a question. So John, I had talked to Hillary about the, on planning or Park and Rec, and she told me about the trying to get grants and funding for that. But I wasn't really clear on where we at, because Paulette, I talked to her too, but what is it that we're finalizing? I think it was the equipment, the speakers, is that what it was that we're looking for? Is that the back end that needs to be done?
For Carter Park?
Yeah.
There's two big issues. I mean, there's two kind of pieces that we're really talking about. One is the bigger picture of just sort of how do we build phase one of Smithfield, for example, the parking lot and all that, and match potentially or provide some funding match for a potential donor there. And how do we start looking at building the community garden with Magnolia Park, and how do we do some of these things? So that was part of the big picture of grant getting. There's also the second piece of that, which is for Carter Park itself, is starting efforts on the fundraising. And Matthew and I have been talking about this for the last couple of months in terms of trying to figure out what's the best time to start dealing with that. And we're also hoping to maybe partner up with our friends from Shakespeare in the Park and see how we can build a relationship and also look at some fundraising. Certainly, Chair Eisen has a vision of selling bricks or selling space or selling some kind of things for that art-related kind of issues with that. That's something we can take a look at and deal with it. But we're, I think, focused a little bit more on can we find a major donor who is interested in maybe sponsoring and naming the stage. And yes, that would bring audiovisual equipment into the park, because we did not, at the time when we went forward with this project, have funding for that. We also didn't have funding for the playground equipment, that playground site there. We have all sort of landed that maybe the best thing to do will be wait on the playground and see if it's really something that the community is pushing for and dying for there and needing, or whether the area where that is scheduled for might be just an area for additional picnic areas. So we're still working through that, but the primary issue is audiovisual equipment. And that's part of why the partnering with Shakespeare makes a lot of sense, because they benefit from that equally.
Do you have a rough idea of how much you need for the equipment?
Maz, come on up.
The early estimates on the equipment was around $500,000. We actually have a walkthrough with the Shakespeare in the Park folks tomorrow. where we're going to talk with the designer. So we're going to get a little bit more information as we work through that partnership and see what equipment and needs are there. We'll be able to estimate that a little bit better. But early estimates from the construction phase prior to actually building the park was about $500,000 roughly.
Have we reached out to like somebody like Joe Cotchett or somebody like that? Because I've talked to him and he's so pro Half Moon Bay and he loves projects. Have we talked to people like that have, that love to put their name on something and like to back something? Have we gone out that route?
I'm happy to jump in here, Maz. We haven't done any outreach yet. Again, part of it is identifying what we need, what would be the best fit for that facility. One thing we know is no matter what we put in there, it's not going to meet everybody's needs because music versus spoken word versus stage play, they have different technology needs and different sound needs. And so I think that's part of the work we're doing with Shakespeare is, can we get something in there that meets general needs, and then people are still going to have to bring equipment in? Once we really nail that down, then we can figure out who to approach. But yeah, Joe Cotchett would be at the top of that list for sure.
So many that, that
we have some other big names. The Coast Side is home, the greater Coast Side is home to some pretty well-known, world-known music artists and performing artists that might want to support a project like this. So they're on our list as well.
Real quick, because I know everybody's getting tired, but I have somebody that's local, that's Pyrotech. He's retired, and I think a lot of people know him. I could reach out, and I talked to Hillary about that. If this 4th of July thing, you guys want to go, I know where he lives. We can talk to him, and he wanted me to be part of his team to teach me how to do it. It's not something I wanted to do, but I'm just saying there's connections in this town. We just have to reach out.
Yeah.
That team did come and speak to the commission and went through that process. So we're connected with them. I see some of their team at Cameron's having a cocktail some evenings. So it's a small town. We're all connected, but that is out there. But anyway, there's a lot we can talk offline with it. But the fire department is going to require a third engine come over from the other side of the hill, fully staffed, to be sitting and waiting around to make sure that there's no issues with that. And they're going to look for a charge to that. So what is a $30,000 fireworks show from that group quickly can become a $60,000, and that hasn't even started with Mr. Chichov and Captain Chichov and the sheriff's requirements and issues with that. So it becomes a quite expensive proposition with it. So.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. I wasn't going to comment anymore, but I'm just saying I'm not sure I fully understand or accept the underlying premise that having our own fireworks show discourages others. Just remembering my own teenage mind that sometimes went the exact opposite. Hey, this is cool, man. Let's do our thing. So
it gives them cover to do their own thing.
Sorry?
It gives them cover to go do their own thing.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm not sure about that, but we'll see. Up for more discussion some other time. Oh, one last thing. Again, RJ, I just want to echo what John said. Thank you so much for your terrific service on that Park and Rec Commission, and really appreciate that. Thanks again. Oops. Future discussion agenda items.
Through the mayor. Thank you. And I don't know, maybe this is something to have on our radar, if not an actual item. But in light of what's coming, funding, the federal funding, I don't know, and maybe it's not an issue for us directly, but if there's pass-through funds that go to the state or county, then to us, and or if there's funding that comes directly from the feds to us, is that something that we should have definitely on our radar, but just maybe explain, this is what we're watching, this is potentially what could happen, or I don't know if it's now or during the budget process, but I just know there's a lot of on again, off again going on right now.
I promise you that staff has its keen eye, and we'll but it's something that we just simply can't predict right now. It's a mystery for every city as to what might get cut or threaten to get cut, affecting pass-throughs. So I think we'll just have to wait. And if certain things come up, then we might need to agendize how we might need to restructure finances for certain projects.
Maybe do we have an easy way to see which ones are, that I could go look online or something?
No, we don't, but I think then the first step would be working through our ledge subcommittee. We have Townsend and Associates, which has act on our behalf, and they have a presence in Washington, D.C. and in Sacramento. And this is on their radar, and I think we would start with the ledge subcommittee and go from there, if that's okay.
And they can always come in and do a presentation remotely or otherwise. To keep us
Exactly.
updated. So, yeah, good. Thanks for bringing that up.
To the mayor, I would like to bring up something. On Poplar Street, and this is something we may want to talk about, or it's just dead, but the parking was a little bit of an issue that Hal brought up, that I saw that on the right side. And I noticed it on 20th by my shop. They did the same thing, condos on the right, and they have to do red all the way. So I'm like, okay, this is consistent with what you guys have told me and what I've read, what Maz talked about. But there is a lot of less parking on the right, and there should be, I think it's taking up too many spots, because you can't even go, when I went to go visually look at the red, because they're already painted and we're asked to paint. And I'm like, well, they're already painted. I was like, wow, that's a lot of parking we can't use now. So that's an issue that I think should be brought up if we can figure that out. The other thing I noticed, and I had been waiting to see the final product because I've been there so many times just to look at it, is you can't exit when you get out on the passengers, whoever get out on the passenger side, you drop down 6 to 8 inches down into the vegetation area. You cannot leave your car safe. I'm worried about a lawsuit. I'm worried about somebody getting hurt. Feel free to see what I'm talking about. Park your car and have somebody, or be in the passenger seat and try to get out in one of those things. You end up in a hole. It looks beautiful. And then the gravel, I don't understand what that's all about, and I'm sure it has to do with drainage and proper drainage and all the new best management things that you're supposed to do. The gravel that's on the road doesn't seem right. It just seems odd. And now, why is that the only street that has that? Now, are we going to continue on with all the other streets with this practice, or is this just like one street? So it seems the street looks good. It looks beautiful, but I'm worried about the liability of getting out passenger side. And I worry about the gravel, too, on the roads. It doesn't seem right. It's new to me. I don't know what that's all about. I haven't done my homework on it. It's just my first impression last night.
Well, Maz, I know Maz is here. We can have Public Works take a look at that and then see if, what remediation can be done, whether it's actual construction or lighting, et cetera, for the risky areas, et cetera. So
It's a drop. You get out passenger, you just,
Yeah.
you can't exit the car safely.
Yeah. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. We'll get a report back on that, especially if it's going to be done other places. So, great. Thank you. Any city council reports? Okay. We are going to do two things at once here. First, we're going to adjourn this meeting of the City Council. But if anyone is online, we're about to have a closed session. Catherine, our attorney, read the topics of that closed session. We always have a quick opportunity. If anyone from the public wanted to comment on any of those closed session issues specifically, speak now, online, in the room. No? Then I will now close the public's portion of the closed session.
Before you do, Mayor, I just did want to acknowledge the open session items. I referenced them earlier, but it was kind of shorthand. So just to clarify, the council will be convening in closed session following public comment to discuss two items. The first one is a conference with real property negotiators regarding several parcels that are located in the Wavecrest area. Under negotiations are price and terms of potential sale of those vacant parcels to the Coastside Land Trust. That's the first item. And then the second item is a conference with real property negotiators regarding a portion of 80B Stone Pine. And the council will provide direction regarding price and terms of a potential sale to the county. And as I referenced earlier, because these are real property matters, any final action, the actual purchase agreement, does need to go back to the council in open session for consideration. Thank you.
for
Now you can
repeating
go ahead
those.
and ask for any
Repeating
public
those
comment.
items again, any public comments on any of those items? Going once, twice, 3 times. Closing the public portion of the closed session.